Elon Musk lives in full view of the public. His companies are constantly analyzed, his decisions are debated daily, and his movements are tracked almost in real time. Yet the most important parts of his life are deliberately designed to leave no trace at all. This is not about money, fame, or status. It is about something far more difficult to obtain: control over exposure. When visibility itself becomes a risk, every routine becomes a weakness. Travel must be planned like a strategy. Family life must be protected like sensitive information. So how do you move when being recognized is the danger? How do you exist when predictable patterns make you vulnerable? What you are about to see is not his public behavior. It is the hidden infrastructure behind it. Systems built to erase routines, scramble digital signals, and make movement impossible to predict. At this level of attention, safety is not reactive. It is engineered in advance. Before this video ends, consider one question. If true power meant deciding exactly when the world can see you and when it cannot, would you choose that control? If you believe real luxury is privacy, comment control and subscribe to Zenith, because once you understand how this world operates, you will never look at wealth the same way again. For the Musk family, everyday life is planned like a security operation. Global visibility, constant monitoring, and multiple residences across continents mean movement is never casual. Each child represents more than family. They represent a point of exposure in a system that is always being observed. Privacy is not a lifestyle choice in this environment. It is a defensive requirement. Predictable behavior creates traceable patterns. Traceable patterns create risk. So protection begins before travel is even discussed. Schedules remain fluid. Routes are never fixed. Physical presence is reduced whenever possible. The goal is not convenience. It is to move without announcing movement at all. This reveals a central truth about extreme wealth. Money does not remove danger. It pays for systems that prevent danger from forming. And when the safety of those closest to you is involved, there is no acceptable margin for error. Which leads to a simple question. If remaining unseen was the only way to protect your family, how much of your normal life would you give up? Air travel exposes this logic more clearly than anything else. For the Musk family, private jets are not a luxury feature. They are a control layer. In a world where names are tracked, schedules are studied, and locations are traded as data, commercial flights create permanent records. Terminals create witnesses. Passenger lists create searchable history. Fixed timetables create patterns, and patterns create vulnerabilities. The objective is not comfort. It is independence from systems that cannot be controlled. This is why private aviation becomes infrastructure rather than indulgence. Musk's air travel strategy is built around flexibility and redundancy. Long-range Gulfstream aircraft remove the need for stopovers, allowing intercontinental travel without public transfers or crowded hubs. Multiple planes ensure that mechanical problems, delays, or disruptions never force a return to commercial routes. Timing and destinations remain adjustable until the final moment. But the real advantage is not inside the aircraft. It exists around it. Private terminals replace public checkpoints. Smaller airfields replace international hubs. Ownership is routed through layered corporate entities, separating identity from movement. To outside observers, these flights do not appear exceptional. They blend into ordinary aviation traffic, quiet by design, and difficult to trace with certainty. This is how extreme wealth redefines flight. Not as a status symbol, but as a buffer zone. Altitude becomes protection, timing becomes security, and security becomes a form of power. Because wealth alone does not create privacy, systems do. When movement itself becomes a liability, owning the method of movement becomes essential. So if true privacy meant removing randomness entirely, would you rely on public systems? Or would you claim control of the sky itself? And once the aircraft leaves the ground, what follows exposes even more about how power actually functions. Speed is not the true advantage of a private jet. Control is. The moment the cabin door closes, outside interference ends. Noise is filtered out. Disruptions are sealed off. Time becomes predictable again. The disorder of the ground never enters the space. Every feature inside the aircraft serves a single purpose: reducing friction. Temperature is regulated to prevent strain. Lighting is tuned to protect energy levels. Layers of sound insulation mute the engines until motion feels distant. This is not comfort for its own sake. It is an environment built to preserve focus. When distraction disappears, thought becomes sharper. Stress has nowhere to enter. The jet functions as a contained system, isolated from external pressure. Distance no longer changes behavior. Whether crossing states or oceans, the internal rhythm stays constant. Work continues. Sleep cycles hold. Family routines remain intact. Conversations happen without being overheard. Decisions are made without intrusion. Nothing inside is incidental. Data systems are secured. Communication stays enclosed. Privacy is not requested. It is enforced by design. This is the deeper meaning of luxury at this level. It is not about accumulation. It is about removal. When unnecessary variables vanish, time becomes usable. Attention becomes protected. And once control begins in the air, it does not end there. It spreads outward, reshaping everything connected to movement. Which raises a different question. If you could eliminate one force that interrupts your life, what would you choose? Security at this scale does not come from speed. It comes from being unreadable. For highly visible families, danger is not closeness. It is repetition. Public routes, fixed aircraft, and regular timing convert movement into information, and information can be followed. So the strategy changes from moving faster to breaking patterns. Flights are divided across different aircraft. Departure windows shift. Routes vary without logic. Sometimes an owned jet is used. Other times, a charter replaces it. Continuity is intentionally broken. Each choice removes a trackable thread. Ownership is also obscured. Aircraft are placed under layered corporate structures, creating distance between identity and travel. From the outside, flights lose meaning. They appear ordinary. No consistent trail forms. No person can be attached to them. Even tracking systems no longer offer clear visibility. What once showed exact locations now produces blurred signals. The result is a second travel network operating beside commercial aviation, but never overlapping with it. No public schedules, no stable paths, only movement when required. At this level, privacy is not secrecy. It is system design. Observation becomes useless because there is nothing stable to observe. And when invisibility requires rebuilding the rules instead of breaking them, the choice becomes unavoidable. Would you redesign your life to disappear or accept permanent exposure? The most dangerous part of private travel happens before takeoff. For billionaires, risk concentrates on the ground, not in the air. Every pause, every intersection, every transfer creates exposure. That is why street-level movement is treated as a security system rather than transportation. Routes are never fixed. Schedules are intentionally unstable. No trip is repeated the same way twice. The objective is not efficiency. It is confusion. When movement cannot be predicted, tracking loses value. Each journey is designed to release as little information as possible, even under observation. What appears routine from the outside is actually a controlled sequence built second by second. Modern convoys function as moving networks. Vehicles receive live data and reroute instantly based on traffic, surroundings, or threat conditions. Cars change formation, split apart, and regroup, preventing any single vehicle from becoming identifiable. The most fragile moments, stepping outside, entering a car, reaching a terminal, receive the highest level of coordination. These transitions are treated like airspace checkpoints, governed with the same precision as flight plans. Nothing is incidental. Nothing is assumed safe. But this model is already being pushed further. Future systems aim to remove visibility entirely. Private underground routes, separated from public roads, are being explored as a way to eliminate observers altogether. No traffic, no witnesses, no exposure. Movement without surface presence. If security meant redesigning how travel exists instead of where it goes, would you still trust the road? And if the surface becomes the weak point, what does privacy mean when journeys move below it? Most billionaires define freedom by accumulation. Elon Musk defines it by avoidance. That contrast becomes clear in what he has never purchased: a yacht. At his level, permanent assets produce permanent signals. A yacht is not just transportation, it is a record-keeping system. Crews create logs, ports create timestamps, maintenance creates paper trails. Each stop generates data. Ownership transforms escape into routine, and routine attracts attention. For someone who treats privacy as essential, permanence becomes a liability. Instead of possession, Musk chooses access. Chartering replaces owning. A vessel appears when needed, follows flexible paths, then disappears without attachment. No fixed ports, no long-term routes, no single object to monitor. One voyage may serve as a private retreat, another becomes a moving workspace beyond land-based observation. When the trip ends, the footprint ends with it. This reflects a deeper principle in his lifestyle. Control comes from movement, not from accumulation. The more permanent something becomes, the harder it is to use without being seen. By avoiding ownership, exposure stays limited and options remain open. The escape exists only when required and nowhere else. In a world where status is tied to what is anchored, Musk prioritizes what can vanish. And when the vessel returns to anonymity, the real question is not where it went, but whether anyone could prove it was ever there. This system doesn't stop with travel. It shapes the entire daily routine. Locations rotate. One house today, another tomorrow. Schedules change without warning. Phones change. Cars change. Even staff assignments shift, so no one person sees the full plan. To the outside world, it looks random, but it isn't. It's controlled unpredictability. No single camera angle captures the full day. No single moment explains the next. One clip shows a driveway, another shows a plane, another shows a meeting room, but none of them connect into a clear story. That's the point. When life is broken into pieces, it becomes hard to track, hard to map, hard to anticipate. This is what privacy looks like at scale, not hiding in one place, but never staying long enough to be defined by it. People imagine wealth as excess, more houses, more cars, more visibility. But what this really shows is the opposite. At the top, money is spent making life smoother, quieter, and harder to track. Travel turns into a private network. Privacy turns into something built, not requested. Movement turns into an advantage instead of a risk. For families who live under constant attention, safety isn't something you react to. It's something you design in advance. Routes are decided before the need appears. Transitions are controlled before they happen. Every choice exists for one reason: to reduce exposure without stopping life. Not to vanish from the world, but to move through it without being pinned down. So think about this. If you had the option to control when you were seen and when you weren't, not to escape, but to protect what matters, would you use it? If you want more stories about the hidden mechanics of power, subscribe to Zenith, because the real system doesn't show itself, and the next layer is even quieter.